when I first started teaching, being in a room where things were going the way that I did not want them to go, a real urge to come from the top and push down.
Sure.
That kind of being the POV of me looking literally, because they're tiny, but then also on my insides at like, oh no, something is going wrong. I need to clamp down on this. I need to press that out, get that bad thing out, eliminate the bad is sort of like the deep goal.
Yeah.
That first goal, let's say, like the reactive thing of like, nah, something's going wrong here. Someone has hit someone else. There's something bad. There's chaos. Chaos is bad. I got to get it gone.
Sure.
You know, it's like this response of push that out.
Did you ever feel it when you weren't on schedule? I sometimes as a mom feel it if it's like nothing really bad is going on, but our schedule is off. So all of a sudden I'm above being like, get on time. Like we have to be here at this time. So this has to happen in this. And it does make you feel like the way you described it, above and needing to like control back into the agenda. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. My name is Jessica Hover.
I'm Layne Sherland, and this is Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club.
And we're so happy to be with you this new season. And today, before the microphone was on, Layne said, here's what we'll be talking about. And I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask why, but then we just decided let's start recording because if you're nervous, they should know why you're nervous. So tell us.
Bring you all in.
Yeah.
Once in a while, we hit a topic where I'm like, ooh, I gotta talk about this. But I wish very deeply that like you guys were here because what I want to do is like in a broad and back and forth sense, like talk about, like I want it to be a conversation because some things are like nuanced and kind of hard to express. Yeah. And very like story driven and personal and maybe a little triggering. Yeah. Okay. And so I just like, there's this craving in me to have you guys also be sitting in like that chair and and like with us and we can be having a dialogue. But I think it's worth it to talk on our end about it and then just be inviting you guys on your end to respond to this in any way that you can.
And please join the next Zoom call that we're going to have. So every month in Very Good Mothers Club, Layne and I lead a call together where we really do unpack the things that are brought up here and new things. Sometimes people just bring a new topic and we all talk about it. But knowing that that's how you're feeling about this, that's like the perfect invitation to say, come be a part of the conversation. You can do, it's like a free trial. You can just join for that specific call if you want to and get a taste of what we do together. But let's have the conversation. So what are we talking about then?
Well, I have one more pitch for ways you can be part of the conversation because I just want to remind you guys that bonus episodes this season are going to be a little bit different. I'm only going to do them in response to messages from you guys, basically about the topics that we're talking about. So I'd really like to invite you to send us emails after this episode, after every episode, with your thoughts, with your stories, with your challenges. Like throw a flag where you hear me say something funky or where you're like, I don't know about
or how does this apply to my actual life?
What about this example? Like get into it because then I can record an episode on Fridays where we can kind of have a little bit more of like teasing out the specifics and the flavors or just getting to like add your voices so that others can hear really like in the specificity of your stories is like that universal truth thing, you know? So like wanting to get your stories involved here so that your virtual friends who are also listening to this
and are going through the same stuff as you,
the same thing, can be comforted.
You also do a really good job on your Instagram expanding on ideas that maybe like you'll make a reel about something and then get the feedback and then make the next reel to talk back. So if you're looking for another place to consume really great content, they should follow you on Instagram. That's a plug, genuinely. They should do it. So tell them what your Instagram is.
So my Instagram is enquiryco. I can't spell out loud.
We always
always linked in the show notes. Both of our Instagrams, lots of ways, and the link for Very Good Mothers Club. Always in there. Any episode you're listening to, it's there. You can get us.
You can come. Okay. So then, what the heck are we talking about that's making you so nervous?
Yes. Last season, we did an episode that we called Less Gentle Parenting.
Oh, right.
Where we talked about being direct. That wasn't a follow-up episode. We had two. I had a little bit of a brainwave last season where I felt this need to talk about like being the firm and gentle leader that your child needs you to be in this relationship. There's a need for somebody to be the adult in this kind of accidental way that I'm seeing a lot of people spill over into the space of very permissive parenting or a relationship with their child where really no one is in charge. There is no guidance, which I don't think people are wanting to be doing, but it's in this deep response to what I want to talk about today, which is like the use of fear and force in relationships between adults and children. And a lot of us experienced that and are reacting pretty heavily to like, oh, I don't want to be that. There's a big fear around being the mean parent.
Sure.
And so we touched on that just a tiny bit or in an episode last season. Honestly, if you're joining us this season, I feel like we really hit our stride last season. And I would encourage you strongly while these episodes are coming out to be beefing up on some of those, because I think
everything we're doing here seems to be building upon specifically what happened last season. Yeah. So yeah, I think you'll get more out of this if you go back and listen to that.
Which all to say, like, I'm just excited about where we're going, because I feel like we're really getting into some stuff that's like, oh, and then we should step up and step up and step up here.
Right.
But I want to go like way sort of deeper into the kind of the almost the why out of that episode. What I want to do is bravely and neutrally, like without judgment, look at fear and force as tools in relationship dynamics that people have used for a long time. I want to look really clearly at ways that many of us are either like reactively avoiding those things or secret using them and feeling bad about it, or feeling like everything that they're doing now is like, because I don't want to do the thing that like actually works, which is force this kid to just do it. You know, there's just stuff left over. Yes. Yeah. And I want to just like look right at it, because I think we're kind of scared about it. So I want us to like know about it today.
So at our last in-person gathering of moms that we did a few days ago, two moms brought up something that I think is perfectly in line with what you're about to talk about. One was talking about how she's really trying not to say no to her child. She's an amazing mom. And she's like, I'm really trying not to say no, but then he like hits someone or is about to do something. And because she's afraid to say no, she freezes up. So she's like, so then I don't say anything, but it's because I was told that no isn't the most helpful thing to tell him. There's something more helpful to tell him, but then I am lost as to what the thing is. So then this other mom, who also an amazing mom, I know these women really well, she chimed in and she was like, yeah, I actually also get confused because sometimes my little toddler will kind of get hurt, not too hurt, like she watches it happen, and the little one's freaking out. Yeah. But then just continues the freak out like long. They get to a point where what she wants to say inside with all tenderness is like, you're okay. Yeah. You're okay. But she's like, I've seen the videos that tell me not to say that. You know, like we're living in a stage where so much of our parenting is guided by these really short videos we're watching all day long on our social media. So she's saying, I kind of want to tell her you're okay, but I know I'm not supposed to tell her you're okay. Sure. And I'm listening to it being like, sometimes I tell my kids no, and sometimes I tell them they're okay. And maybe it would be helpful to not get too weird about words, to like, again, it's like this fear of, I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to say no hitting. And then that's not the most helpful. You know what I mean? Yes. And anyway, so it turned into a conversation where they were saying, maybe you guys have talked about it on the podcast. And I said, oh, I'm sure we've talked about it on the podcast. And we will do more talking about it on the podcast, because there is so much fear in doing the wrong thing with our kids. Yes. So then we're just taking these little things we've heard and we're like, oh, okay, so don't say no, because no is not good. Yeah. Oh, don't say you're okay, because that minimizes their non-okayness. You know, they're not okay. That's why they're crying so hard. And I'm thinking what we're bringing here is the deeper, like the value system that guides us. But then we, as Layne and Jessica, your friends, we don't want to make it weird. We're not trying to freak you out. Use your words. And even if you use the words and then you go, you know, those weren't the best. That didn't work out that well. Okay. I'm going to change my words. I'm going to try this next time. You have lots of days of toddlers doing toddler things to practice lots of different words and see which one's more effective.
Yeah.
But I feel like that could be a good start too.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you brought that up. I'm going to address those two things because I don't have the self-control not to.
Perfect. Yeah.
I can't not leave people in this space.
Yeah.
But what I love about this framing from you is that what I'm always trying to do is take us from these top level little splashy, tiny little waves, constant little waves at the surface of like, what do I say? And what are the scripts? And can you just tell me what to say so I don't say it wrong? And be like, okay, I could, but then I'm still also one just being like, say this, not this, which is like sometimes helpful, but the value of it comes from being down, way deeper into this deeper quiet space of understanding certain structures between people, the way that stuff moves, our longer term goals and like deeper values and I'm starting to use the same words over and over, but like the relationship piece, right? I'm always trying to sink us down into
the relationship between these
each other.
Two people.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Because your words barely matter, especially if your kids are little.
Sure.
They are reading your insides. They are reading your feeling. They're reading whatever that thing is that emanates from one person to another. This is how small children are moved.
Yeah.
They're learning language. They're attaching labels via the words you're saying to stuff. But your words are icing, right?
Yeah.
Like you bake a cake, you can change the shape of the cake with some icing, right? But like you have baked a cake. That's what we're eating here.
The structure,
Yes. So I love that. It's really fine to tell your children no, and you really should. And any instruction that we're giving them, any of that like quote unquote better guidance, which I'm very about, all of that is standing on an implication of no.
Right.
No, not
what you mean
this.
is no.
I mean no, not that. This. But there is a no in there, and you are allowed to put the no in there. If you stop at the no, you're going to have a child who's pretty frustrated and doesn't know what to do instead. Yeah. So you will keep seeing that behavior repeated over and over, and now it's just a fight between yourselves. Yeah. If they're like, I'm going to try this thing, and you're like, no.
Then you need the redirection.
We're in trouble.
Yeah.
And actually all that's left for us is fear and force. If all you're trying to do is enforce a no. So we'll get deep into that. But in this is what you can do instead, instead implies a necessary, you may not do this, not this, and yes, this. And I don't know where this idea of don't say no came from.
Right.
Ideally, for me, the no gets so incorporated in our relationship that I can start to kind of skip it because they know I'm blocking you from that and I'm sending you this way. I'm blocking you and sending you this way. And then my no can be kind of infrequent and serious. And that's what I kind of like. But that's my favorite way to use no. So far from not using no, I actually have a favorite version of it.
Even in that, there's still a no. It just becomes a non-verbal no because you've used no. So it's not that we're taking away.
Yeah. I've lived the no. I've embodied the no.
They understand.
I will put myself in between you and this inappropriate outcome from your behavior. No.
Yeah.
Go over there and try that instead. So that to the first mom. And then also, what's the next thing?
The next one was you're okay.
So there is a way that grownups, and by grownups, I mean what I consider grownups, which were the grownups when I was a child.
Oh, sure.
They want crying to stop. There's a stress about negative feelings. So a lot of times we will see generations older than us, our parents, our aunties, ladies in the grocery store go, no, buddy, you're fine. You're fine. No, don't cry. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're okay. And in the initial moment of a child crying, they're not fine. Something is not fine.
Right.
They perceive that the world is ending.
Sure.
And there is a validation of their feelings and being like, wow, this is so tough for you. Yeah, that makes sense. I have looked around and I can see that we're okay here. So you can have this feeling, but I need to let you know that I've checked and the world is not ending. Now, we can feel the moment when a child has gotten hurt and they're upset about it. Real. Super real. It's going to hurt for a minute. They're going to cry about the hurting, and then they're going to cry about the fact that they got hurt. And then we know. Also, we can see when it turns into like this crying is basically cotton candy. There's no density to this at all.
Yeah.
You're now just like, oh, you've moved this crying into a wine space.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I think that it is the role of a loving adult to take a little child's face in their hands after the part where you've validated them, you've seen them kind of go through the thing, you're following your real intuition because you're connected to your person, to take their little face and rub out those little tears and say, hey, listen, I've looked around and I can actually see that I think you feel better. I think we're stuck here and I want us to move out of this feeling. I know that you're okay. So what can we do to move out of this feeling? Can I offer you this? Would you like this thing instead? Let's be done.
Yeah.
And sometimes that will not work. Sometimes they will commit to this upset feeling. And okay, all right, fine. It's a bummer.
Often when they're crying like that for so long, that's when I realize like, oh, I think he's really hungry.
Sure.
Oh, you know, their nap wasn't that good today. So this cry actually has nothing to do with that thing. And so then I'm the distraction, the redirection, even the whisper to just say something else that has nothing to do with why they're crying.
Yeah.
But I'm whispering so they have to be quieter to hear me say what I'm saying. Sometimes in it, they're like a little goldfish memory, you know, they kind of forget like, why was I crying?
Right.
I'm just being quiet now to hear mom talk.
Yeah.
Anything like that. I think if you guys are in these positions where you're like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, you're already really good at this.
Yeah.
You're doing such a nice thing trying to connect with your babies and do a loving, empathetic job at handling their stuff. Don't worry about it. Like move forward. And it's okay if at the end of the day you go, I think tomorrow when they freak out, because they will, I might try this instead. Cool. Good. You did it.
Yep. I just want you to notice that I've said the words in these processes that Instagram said not to say.
Right.
And also that reel, what it wants really from you is to make sure that you validate your kid's experience with your embodiment and your position. Yeah. Right. You are acknowledging the hurt. You are making sure that they know what to do instead. Yeah. But because Instagram is 45 seconds long, it's say this and don't say this. Yeah. Never say these words. Yeah.
Well, and realize that the nature of an algorithm is the more controversial the video is that you're watching, the more views the creator gets, the better it is for the system. Yeah. So you're going to see a lot of videos like that where you go, oh, whoa, really? I'm never supposed to say no. Yeah. And that's because then it makes you confused and it makes you rewatch it. Then it makes, so all of that's a system that maybe isn't a loving set of friends here telling you you're doing a really good job. You can say no sometimes and you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Any piece of content that's giving you a hard and fast rule, just go ahead and interrogate that. Yeah. Just ask it questions. Yeah. Okay, so sinking down. We're going down, below. What should I do? What should I say? What's not okay? What's a new parenting style? And am I going to get this right? I want us to take a really brave look at tools. In my ideal world, we would be able, as humans, to sort of eliminate our moral judgment about almost everything and be able to just look at like, what does this thing cause? What is the cause and effect of this thing? What is the outcome that I think will be the best good for this child or for myself? Okay, let's just choose those things and find a way to eliminate these other things. Like I would like to just really pull the urgency down and the need to make super sure that we're on the good side and not the bad side. Like, let's just cool that for the moment and look straight at some stuff. Because for a lot of human history, fear and force have driven human behavior. It's been the way that we govern ourselves in large groups. Yeah. It's been the way that we create social hierarchies within the home. And it's certainly been the way that adults have guided children. And that, I think, is largely connected to like our proximity to survival. Right? Like we have this deep need to make sure that there's safety. Yeah. And where there is not safety, appropriate fear comes up. Sure. And we need some of that. And actually, I think we're losing a little bit of that as we be like, I don't want to use fear and force to motivate a child, which yes, and let's not. And let's talk about why not. But also, I need people to be safe. And so when there's actual unsafety in the world, we go down to these more crude tools. And when there's a feeling of a lack of safety in me, I switch over into like well, I don't feel safe. I feel a little scared. Something is bad here. There's a badness that needs to go. And I do feel myself sink into this more, almost like a primitive, sort of a little bit more animally, like, yeah, get the bad out, make that stop, right? So there's a connection to safety around the use of fear and force. And there was a thing in me, I really found this when I first started teaching, just being in a room where things were going the way that I did not want them to go, a real urge to come from the top and push down.
Sure.
That kind of being the POV of me looking literally, because they're tiny, but then also on my insides at like, oh no, something is going wrong. I need to clamp down on this. I need to press that out, get that bad thing out, eliminate the bad is sort of like the deep goal. Yeah. That first goal, let's say, like the reactive thing of like, nah, something's going wrong here. Someone has hit someone else. There's something bad. There's chaos. Chaos is bad. I got to get it gone.
Sure.
You know, it's like this response of push that out.
Did you ever feel it when you weren't on schedule? I sometimes as a mom feel it if it's like nothing really bad is going on, but our schedule is off. So all of a sudden I'm above being like, get on time. Like we have to be here at this time. So this has to happen in this. And it does make you feel like the way you described it, above and needing to like control back into the agenda, which is so annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate how many times we've already said control, because the engine of this way of being with another person, and that can be with a small child or it can be with anybody else, right? Like we're really talking about relationship dynamics here. The driver is control, this need for like, not even overtly knowing like I want to control you, I want to manipulate you, but simply that like I must determine the outcome here. We have to have it go the way that I need it to go. And something inside is like, okay, then what can we do to make sure that it goes this way? Yeah. And really all you can do when you have to control the outcome is push. There's has to be a pushing. I will either make this, I will motivate this other person from the outside to get them into the space that I want them. And the space where you want them might be a lovely, loving space, right? But these tools, the way that we're moving toward that space is so fearful. The goal is compliance. The goal of fear and force is compliance. And I want to keep those things really connected too, because when our goal is compliance, we actually are really limited in the tools that we get to use.
Sure. Are you saying that fear and force are two different ways we relate to our kids, or is it one and the same? I'm forcing you out of fear that I'm experiencing, or I'm making you guys afraid in order for you to be compliant?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Okay. I think that they're sort of twin tools that get used a lot with kids, whether it's you need to do this thing or something bad will happen to you. Like I need to scare you straight.
Sure.
Or you need to do this thing or I'm going to force you. Yeah. With either pain or a lack of a thing or
punishment
like
of
some kind, which the driver there, what I'm using is force and what it's creating is fear. I need you to feel scared of the bad thing so that you go and do the good thing. There's a way in which there's a real logic to that of like, I love this kid. So I need them to run away from the bad thing and toward the good thing. I need them. I need them to be motivated toward good versus evil. Yes. You will be afraid of evil. You will be afraid of bad. You will be afraid of consequences. And therefore, you will gravitate toward the good thing. And I think that with those really neutral words, I feel that my father, who probably will listen to this, would be like, yeah. Right. And I have respect for that. I think I think it's okay. Now, I think it works in a lot of senses. So the kind of dirty secret about fear and force is that like they're really functional. Sure. They're super functional in a lot of ways, except for when they're extremely unfunctional, right? For most kids, you can make them afraid of the bad so that they sort of choose toward the good. Or you can put enough pressure on a child to go away from this thing that you think of as a negative and toward the thing that you think of as good. Yeah. Except for some of them where you will battle forever and this person will meet you with the exact same amount of force that you apply. And this is where you get gnarly rebellion, even in kids who are like have not had a lot of trauma, are not like experiencing very intense things, even in like we're so inside of a paradigm that's old for me, where I'm like, good kids, good kids with good parents and good relationships. Like but everything when we're
like
in
everything in their life is pretty healthy, actually. But even in a dynamic like that,
you might get rebellion, a lot of heatedness based on temperament, frankly.
Yeah.
But most of the time it will work. And if you apply enough fear and enough force, you can in fact scrub out the behavior, that behavior that you don't want. You can use these kinds of tools to eliminate this one thing that you're looking at. Now, the problem for me with this methodology is that that's not the only thing that happens. You can bring someone into compliance forcefully. Shall we even say the spanking word? Should we even talk about
wondering
spanking?
If
Should we just
talk
about it really quick? Because carefully.
Yeah.
But let us not be afraid to just look at a thing, right?
Yeah.
There are versions of spanking that are super retribution. And a parent is angry, and so they hit a child. And that is violence. That is straight violence.
Yeah, right.
Undefendable.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell me why you think it's appropriate to use violence.
Right.
And some people feel that way. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So much of this is going to be cultural too.
Absolutely.
Which will be interesting to see what feedback we get.
Which you guys get in here, feel the cracks in what I'm saying. Feel the trepidation under my feet. Get in here with your stories and your thoughts. Because let's flesh this out. What I really want is for us to just look right at it. And there are ways to do spanking that are really clinical that say in our home, there is a set of consequences for a set of actions.
Yeah.
I need you to understand that it hurts to do what's wrong. So calmly, after a thing has happened, I'm going to meet you in a particular place, and I'm going to cause you some pain so that you understand.
By explaining it, Layne did not just say she thinks this is a good idea. So really, as you're listening, all of this is talking about things without us saying, do this, don't do this.
Yeah.
Just covering you. Yeah.
So that may work.
Right.
I certainly lived in fear of a spanking for doing some things
families
that are
will
wrong.
do it with not their hand. It'll be you hear of a wooden spoon with a face, or all these different things. Same concept.
The framing of an experience for a child dramatically changes the impact of that experience. Dramatically. So as a child who got spanked kind of a lot, I also had a very clear narrative around that.
Really?
At no point did I think that my parent was mad at me and therefore going to hurt me.
That's good.
Never.
Yeah.
I did think that doing the... Okay. So,
tell us.
So the other consequences, it's really tricky that your parents listen to this podcast.
I know. It's so true.
I think my dad is great, and I think he did a great job. Now, the other things that happen when you use force on a child, right? That is forceful. There's actually not... I was never afraid of my dad. I'm afraid of consequences.
Were you ever bruised afterwards?
No.
No. Okay. Because I think for some people in different countries, I definitely have this if I've ever spoken about it in a YouTube video. Just the topic of spanking is the visual that they're getting is you've just really wounded your kid. And so it doesn't sound like that was what was happening. It doesn't sound like there was blood, bruising, or even redness that lasted much longer than the moment.
Nope. Cool. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. We do got to define what we mean by these terms.
Sure.
Nope. But I did learn that consequences come from the outside. So did I hit my brothers less? Probably. Some of these behaviors that my father did not want from me, these lying or these really negative things that you cannot be allowing a child to do.
Sure.
Some of those things were lessened. But another thing that happened was there is a watchful eye on the outside waiting to apply punishment to me. My motivator is to not be seen doing the wrong thing.
Right.
There's an element of sneaking to my personality.
Sure.
That is very specific, but mostly I spent most of my life motivated by the fear of being observed doing the wrong thing. I have an outside motivator that says consequences, pain, bad things come when you do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it's very punitive in that form, even though my relationship with my parents is lovely. I felt deeply loved by them. There was no concern about if I do the wrong thing, I'm going to be abandoned or unloved or face retribution in this relationship. There's none of that feeling of like annihilating rage that comes at you. And so right, there's a really broad spectrum here, but wanting to go into this dangerous territory to say, yes, compliance. I was a very good kid in lots of like big old air quotes there, right? Yeah. Like I stayed inside of what was safe, and I'm grateful to have stayed inside of what was safe. I don't know that I think I would not have preferred to have had someone say, do whatever and go find out. Go find out what life consequences are like, right? Like I'm grateful for the really guidance. Another
version of harm. It can be. I mean, no, I will say that it is to take a very young person who's not an adult yet and say, go experience the world without any of the tools you need and find out that way. They will find out. That also is not what we're trying to achieve. We're finding this middle ground here.
Yes. But we spend a lot of time further on that side.
Sure.
I feel these days in millennial parentship.
Sure.
You know? So wanting to look over here in the shadows and say, there's another, we're looking for ways to affect behavior with these small children. We want to know what the good one is. Yeah. So let's look at the whole spectrum, because also some of us have this feeling inside of like, I really think if I just spanked her after she bit me, she wouldn't. And I'm here to tell you, maybe she wouldn't. There's a real possibility that like you can effectively eliminate a behavior down this road, and other things happen. So are we looking for compliance? Is compliance our highest goal? It's the thing we have to investigate inside. We have to notice that about ourselves. We have to know that feeling that's coming up, because that original thing in my classroom was like, how dare you? I'm benevolent. Comply. Right. Which I feel that my father and I would relate over this.
Yeah, right.
Who is a benevolent person trying to just make me do the thing that's good. Yeah. And again, I feel fine with his choices. Sure. Also, I have built upon my experiences of childhood, and I'm wondering, okay, in addition to trying to teach a child what is good and what is negative, is there actually a way that I could put that on the inside for them? Not that bad things will happen to you on the outside if you are not very good. Right. I want to actually detach your inside goodness from its effect in the world in this way. The truth is, there isn't someone watching out to see, am I doing bad, doling out punishment for me? Sure. Right? Actually, my choices affect my life. Yeah. So from the inside, is there a way that I can be motivated and guided to be choosing what works better, what works best for me? So that's where you start to see all the things we talk about on this podcast. All of like my perspective is like, I want to be drawing forward rather than pushing from behind. I can push a child from behind. I'm bigger than them. Yeah. That will work. And if you are in a desperate circumstance or where there is danger, that is a thing that works. I don't want to pretend that like sometimes saying like, nope, I'm going to completely wrap myself around you and dominate this moment quickly. And then we will move back into our preferred relationship. Right. It is an available tool. And I maybe we'll chat a little bit about some spaces where that could be useful. But also I want to just like know about the other effects, right? Like we are people who have experienced a lot from adults in our lives. Right. And there's kind of a zone of respect in the middle that we're going for. And I want to say, I think it's wide. I think it's a wide zone of respectable behaviors from adults. But we remember the adults way over on this side who gave us no guidance and protected us in no way and told us nothing about what was useful in life. And we don't respect those people. We used them for fun things. Right. But those are not the people who cared for us. And there are people way over here on this other side who do not respect us as humans, but instead came to us even with their own ideas of what is good, maybe, and said, you will and you must. And I don't. No, thank you. Do it. Comply. And that's sort of this other side here. Yeah. Because with compliance comes other results. We can have the compliance. And I want us to just not pretend that it doesn't work. I think that's part of the spectrum of like the weird thing about, I think it's part of what's making our conversations around parenting, especially on the internet, so off kilter, is that we're pretending like it's not functional. Like we couldn't have compliance from these children. What can we do? What can we possibly do? And I just want to say, like, let's put a weight over here also and say, like, no, we are people who have all of our options open to us. Here are all the tools.
Yeah.
Let's think about them all. We're rarely going to choose these ones.
Sure.
But they're there.
Yeah.
They just come with external motivation, fear, and either over-compliance as adults or adults who use then domination, right? We've learned from Dr. Sam in previous seasons, Dr. Sam Rader, if you want to go look that up, that what we see in generational patterns are either an adult creates a child who then behaves and acts just like them, right? Like they get into a dynamic, the child learns how to be an adult from that adult and says, okay, that's what I'll be.
Yeah.
Or the adult behaves in a certain way toward the child, and then the child forms like a puzzle piece to interlock with their shape. Yeah. And so then you have kind of a corresponding shape out here. So either you get an adult who was using a lot of fear and force in your life and you go, okay, great. The way to move through life is to be afraid inside and to make others afraid and to force what I need to happen in the world.
Yeah.
Or you get an adult who goes, okay, it's scary outside.
Yeah.
The outside is scary. So I will be the thing that is always compliant to avoid the scary thing. Yeah. Or says like, I hated that. I hated that force. And I will never be the thing that forces. And I will make sure that no one ever feels scared of me. Sure. Right? We get either.
So then you don't even want to use, those are, I mean, in my experience with my own body and with friends, it's like, anger as a whole is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because you experienced a misuse of anger that turned into what Dr. Sam talked about. Like it was malicious, it was mean, it was harmful. And so then you just kind of lump that all into the group of anger. And you're like, I am never allowed to be an angry mother. And then that's also very imbalanced because anger is just a natural part of being a human being. Yeah. And you can be angry and you can even express anger without harming another person. Yep. But if you didn't grow up with an example of that, it becomes very murky and confusing. And so then you just want to avoid it all entirely. I also was thinking something you just said. Oh, I love how you said, we're not going to pretend that these tools don't work. They absolutely work. In my own household, I'm seeing it. One thing Sean and I have been talking about recently is just the difference between children's personalities and how challenging it can be to figure out what tools do work to get a child to comply to the stuff that you need them to do in order to be healthy, safe kids, right?
Yeah.
We're going to brush our teeth. We're going to go to bed. We're going to go to bed. We are going to put our pajamas on. And I have 3 kids, 3 very different personalities. And I'd love to hear from some of you who have a 3rd child, but we find that so often we don't want to use force with our 3rd one. We don't go into it even feeling angry or anything. We're doing bedtime for all 3 of them or dinner time for all 3 of them. But then the personality type of this 3rd one, which is so fun and has made our world like magical in all these different ways, way harder to parent, way harder. If she ever listens to this when she's older, we love her. We would never want our life without her. Yeah. But in this stage of her toddler power and like pushing against things, we get into points where it's like, we'll look at each other, and Sean's like a very reasonable, like he's not emotional. It's just not his way.
Yeah.
And we're both just like, whoa. So is the only tool we have left now to like really be sounding angry, really like you do this or you're going to lose this privilege. And it can feel so frustrating because it feels like the only tools left. And so I wonder, like, are you saying there are other tools we just haven't thought of in the moment? Or are you saying like, sometimes that is how it's going to be? And like, so then navigate that wisely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me think this through. What am I saying? I'm saying that you do have all of the tools in your belt. They are all there.
Yeah.
And, there is something desperately important. And I think I'm going to find what I mean about this over the next 1 year of doing this podcast. I feel like it started last season and we're edging towards something because I feel this real passion around making sure that we all know that someone is the authority in this relationship and it's not safe for it to be your child. It's not safe for them. That's not okay for them if they're the one who's in charge and they know it. They're not happier. They are going to keep pushing you to find out if they're in charge because they must know if they're in charge, how urgent and important is it for them to know that?
Right.
And that's very scary when you're a little kid to find out that you're actually the one who's in charge.
Yeah, it's too much.
You need so much and you know how much you need. And you can trick your parent into thinking that you want to be in charge because you've really got to find that far edge. And Juliet has a lot of power. She is about her far edge is far. Like that's a person who's, it's just tough to have a powerful person who's little.
Sure.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
And it's tough to know where the edge is for them and to show them.
And the fear involved, the fear of, we don't want to do this wrong. We see she's powerful. We see that she's our third. We see that even as you mentioned, like if force is used over and over again, that can actually propel a kid into a stage of rebellion. And if we were going to identify which of the three could be more naturally prone to like, I'm going to just leave and wander the world. And parents who are parents, we see that she's the one who is naturally more like that. And so, so it can also make us feel nervous. Both Sean and I have like, if this is the only tool that's working, but this is also the tool that's tied to one day making us divided in our relationship. What the heck do we do? And it can just feel so confusing. And we like nurture her with so much love on the other side of these moments that feel really big and like inflamed, just like, so much love and talking to her and like trying to explain this is why we do these things. But it is interesting in the parenting side of like, I want to do it right. And I'm so afraid that one day our relationship will be messed up if we do it wrong. And I guess that's where those moms who spoke earlier about feeling sometimes paralyzed in the decision-making moment, that is so real. You're like, what the heck? Like you go too far one way and that's not good. You go too far the other way. That's not good. And in the moment, it's also, you're like so worked up, right? And you're like, I don't think I remember. Like, what did Layne say in the podcast? I don't remember. And so, it's tricky.
And that's where I don't want to pretend that I have little words for you to say that will exactly work every single time because they won't. And also because you won't remember them, right?
Sure.
Like this is why we come down into this deep space to remember like, okay, what are the modes of being that I could be in here? I must be alpha with Jules. I cannot let her think that she is the alpha in this circumstance.
Sure.
She can't be allowed to feel that way. In most of her life, she can be in the circumstance of her health and safety or of her being unkind to a different person or whatever. Like there are things that are an absolute must. And there's a needle to thread here of like staying in the position, especially as a person who's not naturally super, super alpha, right? You're a person who wants to do more nurturing than like from the front spearhead, like this on we go. Like that's tricky. And you've got a kid who's like, okay, I'm a rock and this is a soft thing. Ooh, and wants to know what that's about. That's so tricky.
I lean into Sean being a third kid, like the fact that he's the third of three in his family and Jules is the third and they're both kind of independent free spirits. I'm like, so what would work on you, buddy? Because I was the oldest and I was more the personality type that you could like give me a look or like I grounded myself. One time my mom realized that I had grounded myself to my room because I didn't do the thing that I had been asked to do. No one grounded me. Okay. Jules would ground us all. She's like, you out, you're out, you're out, like I'm done with all of you. And so, there's sometimes just this feeling of, I have no idea because I don't even relate to this way, this mode of like treating people. I mean, she's the best. You guys know her. Jules is absolutely the best. So we have mostly like, you're amazing. This is so fun.
Yeah.
Oh crap. Here comes anytime Sean and I need to make a change, transition you from park to car to dinner to bedtime, anything like that, then it's like, well, I hope she's in a really good mood and she really likes to, do everything that we're going to do. And she's really influenced by peer pressure and she wants to be just like Eloise. Sometimes that works.
Yep.
Lately, not so much.
Not so much. I'm gonna, here's the
take me there, Layne. Go.
Here's the cancel me moment.
Oh no. Oh, Layne's about to get canceled. Everybody take a second.
We all knew it was coming.
Shoot, we should have waited till the last episode. We still have more episodes.
I think that there will be very occasional moments in Eloise or in Jules's life where she will need to feel a little afraid of you.
Yeah.
Like you, Jess.
Yeah.
Right? Where she will need to feel a little bit alarmed that she pushed really far and got a little bit of fire back from you. Like, I think there will need to be moments that way so that you and her, speaking very directly to these two people, and you folks may use this as a metaphor.
You know if you have it, Jules. You know if she's going to be president. Is your kid going to be president? Listen closely.
Yeah. This is not a prescription for you. This is a metaphor for you. Yeah. For Jess, I will speak very directly. Yeah. And you guys draw what's good and let me know what you think it's not.
But okay, last night in bed, because she had pushed bedtime till it was almost today, guys. Almost today.
No, thank you.
That's a big problem. Yeah. And we got to a point where she was like, well, I'm afraid of sleep. Just so you know, she wasn't. She was using all the lines that the other kids use. Yeah. And I said, babe, I need you to be afraid of me, not sleep. Right now, it's me, because it was getting to this point where it was not any of it. She had everything. She was the coziest. If I put you to bed, Layne, the way I put her to bed, we'd be married. You'd be proposing. It was so, she was warm. She was cozy. She was safe. She had nightlights. Her door is a little propped open. We're right there. She's so okay. But it was the power feeling that you've described of like, does the sea cliff move? To the point where I'm like, no thanks. This is throwing off our whole, like the entire family dynamic gets mixed up when her awakeness wakes up the siblings. Her being awake keeps us up. And it wasn't just her being awake. It was the fact that it had been like a whole day of every boundary being pushed. Anyway, I say that all because I did get to a point where I was like, whoa, fear me, madam. Like of all the things, pick me and really listen, because this is not going to work. Thankfully, I think by that point too, she was getting so physically tired that she was like, okay, we're good then. I think I'm fine. But it was really tough. And it was one of those where Sean and I were just like, wow, I have no idea. It's not, we're trying every single tool.
And let's be honest, people who were spanked, there's a piece of your brain being like, am I getting spanked?
I know. Yeah.
And no, I know. I'm not.
Sure.
But whoa. And let's not pretend that there's not a corner of the brain that's like, does this get violent? Like, what are we doing here?
I know. You know what's funny about the spanking thing is with Julesy, I'm just afraid she would turn around and spank her peers.
Sure. And she might, let's be clear. Maybe she would have gone the hell to sleep because now she is scared of you. Right. And now
she has
there's
another
recurring, there's extra things that happen. Yes, you might get compliance. Yeah. But you also might get
I know.
Someone who knows how violence works. I can't remember
if I said this on the last episode. Sorry if I did, but did I tell you that we were talking about signing Wilson up for karate? Oh, okay. So we've got middle child too, different temperament, needs to stand up for himself, specifically to his younger sister. Yeah. So we were like, he's really into ninjas. What if we sign him up for karate? That would be so great. And then immediately after we said it, I go, we cannot sign Jules up for karate. And Sean goes, she'll go to jail. She cannot be in karate. So now we have this one kid of all three that is going to be, whenever we can figure out the class, he's going to go by himself to karate. Jules is going to play on a team sport. That's what we figured out. She's very athletic. We're going to put her on some sport where her winning is dependent on everyone winning together.
Field hockey.
And then, she's got to get that she can beat everyone up.
Somewhere
and then,
appropriate.
Eloise can do like our roller skating. Yeah. She'll probably be fine. Yeah. Anyway, it's just,
I love it. I love
trying to figure out what will be good for each of them.
Because everybody gets what they need, which this has either come out or is coming soon for you, is a whole podcast episode about how our value is not fair.
Yeah.
It will not be fair for Jules that Wilson gets to know a martial art.
Yeah.
And that's not what she gets this time.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs something different. Everybody gets what they need in our family. Not everybody gets the same. Not everything is fair.
Sure.
So we say no to Jules about that.
Yeah.
No, you may have a different thing instead.
You may have this sport.
You may not have this thing.
Yes.
And you're welcome to be upset about it.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's going to be important for you, not in every moment that you're applying, like, am I sure that she's scared of me right now?
Sure.
But that somewhere in your relationship, I do think that she needs to know that you're the actual edge. No, I am in charge. I'm the mom.
That's good.
You're little. I will keep giving you more pieces of being in charge as you get more practice.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll jump us real quick to like the instead piece for me, because what I want is not to be a person. Let's just say I'm an adult who's trying to learn how to manage myself from the inside rather than doing a perfect job at my job because I don't want something bad to happen. I don't want someone to think badly of me. I don't want to do the wrong thing and incur pain.
Yeah.
That is not a very mature equation. I don't want to live like that anymore. Though I will say functionally, that equation really kept me from taking a lot of dangerous, risky, nasty behaviors when I was a little kid.
Maybe it's
like
an act of maturing
some ways that
to
served
build
me.
upon it. Maybe there is something about youthfulness. You kind of need, it's like you're beginning to experience peer stuff. And so maybe there is something we learn as we go and getting to a stage of like, oh, but that's not actually the most powerful way. Could that be?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering, I think it's an okay path to walk.
Oh, you're saying maybe we skip it.
I think maybe there's something that we can do that's even more than that.
Okay.
What if what I want to join children on their journey, in their goal of getting what they want. Sometimes what they think they want is not what they actually want. But I want them to be successful. And so I want to be the one who guides them to like, this is the path to get the thing that you want. This is the path to success. I'm on your side, kid. You want a thing? I want you to have that thing. This is how you can have it. You will never get what you want in this other way.
Yeah.
But if you would like it to go well for you, to feel good, for your life to function, these are the things that you can do.
Okay.
Now, I want to not come from this top-down POV, but I want to like meet them eye to eye. And I mean that very literally and very metaphorically.
Okay.
Like really, if I'm spending a lot of time, if Jules is in my classroom and she's 3,
bending.
Prior to every single transition, she will find me at her side saying, hey, bud, we're going to do a thing that's not your favorite thing. Anything you want before we do that thing? This thing is going to happen to you. Is there a way that this can work well for you? Would you like to hold Eloise's hand? Would you like to? What would you like? Because we're doing this thing. But she will find me low, deeper in my register, quieter, and very close to her.
Yeah, it's
like
good.
On hand to guide her ahead of the part that I know is hard. She doesn't actually want to hate me and fight with me. It sucks. She hates fighting with you. It's dumb. She would love to be asleep. That would be so cool.
Right.
It sucks for her to be stuck in this fight too. And I want to see it as this is challenging for her. Compliance is challenging for this person. But joining a good plan will actually feel good to her. How can I bring her into this good plan and let her feel that feeling? Wow, doesn't it feel good when we're on the same team?
Right.
And there will still be plenty of times, because she's who she is, where she like bumps up against the hard thing to find out if the hard thing moves. There's going to be plenty of that. And that's a time to be way more firm. But most of the time, I'm trying to get this person to feel like I'm the one who makes it good for you.
Yeah, right.
So that you experience that, you internalize that. You experience it from me. We're all internalizing our grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what they're doing. They're learning how to navigate life from you, either in reaction to you or imprinting that in there. And like, that's what's going to guide them from the inside. That's what's guiding me from the inside. And as adults, we are privileged to heal and modify that inside adult voice.
Yeah.
But our preset comes from these parents. So for me, if I'm like, I'm your secondary adult as your teacher, what the influence that I want to give you is this feeling from the inside of I'm about to have to stop the thing I want and do a different thing that I don't want. What can I do on the way to keep it good for myself? because I want it to be good. I actually don't want to have to be winning battles over children.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. It's better than losing battles to children. It is better than us getting into a power struggle and them finding out that I'm the weaker. That's really unfortunate for them. Because it creates a weird spiral inside. There's an absence of authority. There's an absence of guidance and protection. There's an empty space where there should be a leader. So I will win a battle over a child if I put myself into a power struggle. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to use violence. I'm not going to be causing actual physical pain or in a punitive space. I don't think punishment is functional. But in terms of willpower, if unfortunately I've gotten into a space where they're like, no, and I'm like, yes, my yes is going to be bigger than theirs. And if you need to cancel me about that, you go right ahead. But like, I'm going to win the battle because it's more important to me that they know that there's someone keeping an eye on things here. Like there is safety for you. Life is safe. There's an adult here who's going to take care of things, including stopping you when you're like a runaway train. I will stop you. I will not allow you to be the thing that goes out here and causes harm and havoc. I won't let you be that.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'm not facing off against them, right? Ideally, I'm the voice on their shoulder saying like, hey, I can see where we're going. This is tricky usually. How do we keep it good?
Yeah.
So to me, my personal value system, I don't actually like really believe in a hierarchy where adults are above children.
Right.
I just think that humans are humans. And the only reason that I'm in charge is because I have better information and more practice. And sometimes that does mean that I'm just going to be the thing that makes the decision. And especially if you're being unsafe, and especially if we've faced off and you want to know who's in charge, I'm going to show you. But ideally for me, I'm not forcing them into a thing, making them so scared that they stay where I think it's good. Ideally, what I'm doing is giving them that good information that I have and giving them opportunities to practice so that they become the thing with good information and enough practice to run their own lives in a good way. Like that's my goal. So when that mom is in that moment of being like, well, my kid hit another kid and do I say, like, what do I do here? Like your goal is not to say the right thing. Your goal is, how do I help this person understand what's gone on here? A thing happened to them. They had an impulse. That's not going to be a successful impulse for them. It's not going to feel good in life to be the person who hits people to get what you want. You're going to face a ton of social consequences, right? I'm going to stop you from being the thing that hits first. I'm not going to let you be that. I'm in charge. And that is authoritative. That is alpha. I can do it without saying, hey, right? Like, whoa, that's where the alarm comes from.
Sure.
But also sometimes your tiny child has got a thumb in somebody else's eye and you need to stop that. Like, right? So there are spaces where if we're in an emergency, I want you guys to feel equipped to take care of the emergency, right? Like, children accidentally do dangerous things because they don't know what danger is.
Totally.
So if you need to get a little scary to stop the danger, I really want that to be a tool that you believe is in your belt. Like stop the danger.
Of course.
And then go ahead and handle the consequence, the real alarm that everybody's going to cry. It's scary. You're going to cry. Nobody likes that feeling. You take care of that in the aftermath. But assuming there's not real danger, you can peacefully still be the thing that says, absolutely not. I move you away from here and then let's figure out what's good. Either we go take care of that person who was hurt because I want you to see like, ouch, yikes, that hurts people. No, thank you. This is how we use our hands. Touch me gently. Show me. You want to touch somebody's face? Show me. Touch mama's face. Gentle. This is how it feels to be gentle. Would you like to go practice? Here's good information and an opportunity to practice. Predicated on, I won't let you be the thing that hurts. It's very firm. It is very gentle, right? Throwing back to this previous topic, like there's a way to use my firmness and my sternness and my in chargeness that is not super scary or super forceful. But there are moments to say, I will 100% remove your small body from this place where you are wreaking havoc. I will absolutely force you to change locations. You better believe it. And then we will move back into a space that is good. And the second that I can invite you back into the way that it works, Dunzo.
Yeah.
I don't need to punish you. You don't need to pay me back. What I want is not for you to feel how bad it is to do the negative thing. I want you to feel how good it is, how easy it is, how simple it is to do the successful thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to be reincorporating you immediately into your life. I want you to fall asleep in your cozy freaking bed. I don't want you to be sorry that you yelled at me. Right? Like this is where there's punishment. People are like, ugh, it's feeling so hard to get them to do the good thing that how can I make it bad enough that they won't want to do the bad thing? And I want to acknowledge that that's a way to go. That exists. And it may function in a lot of ways. And you may listen to this and be like, I think I'm going to keep a little scoop of that.
Sure.
I think a scoop of that is matches my values.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not my preference. I have a bit of an idealistic preference over here.
Sure.
But if the only motivation is if you do wrong, bad things will happen to you. And if your adult's like major job is to be like, I love you means I'm going to make it suck for you if you do what's bad.
Right.
Then we're just in a stage where we may find compliance, but we're also going to find some of these other resounding things. And what I want is for us to be training the inside with good info and good practice about how good it feels to be part of the group and function in a way that works well. I want it to come from the inside.
Yeah.
How do we feel?
Yeah.
How are we feeling?
I mean, I think that sounds great. I think it's... even the practical nature of getting down low, I think with my own children, I feel that for sure. If I find myself giving commands essentially like from on high, even like from another room, it can start to be like, wait, what am I doing again? Like this doesn't feel good inside me and nobody's responding. And so I think that's all very practical. It sounds like we're getting so deep that it's a lot of, here's what we're hoping will take place in them. The way it's going to play out is still probably going to look exactly like our life has been looking. It's a lot of expressing your patience in moments where the toddler is pushing back.
Yeah.
I like how you specified you are going to win a battle, in the sense that for me, like, I know there will be power struggles in my dynamic with mostly Jules. I don't know if I think about it with the other kids, I'm sure that there are just like human, like, I want this and you said that, whatever. But I think it's good to recognize that as much as we are minimizing power struggles, we're doing everything we can, which I think you've done such an excellent job throughout the podcast, giving us tools to avoid power struggles and help us understand like even what's going on in a toddler's experience of the moment.
Yeah.
So that it's not just me, adult, trying to run a household, you interfering with me, adult, trying to run the household. Maybe they go back and listen to every single episode Layne's ever done. No, I think there's actually some really early ones that you did where you're talking about the toddler's experience of life, basically.
Yeah, I did a super cut a couple of episodes ago. You may have to dig a little bit of like our best toddler advice so far. Yes. And that I like really collected kind of a lot there. But we also can... but that would be a great resource. I think if you're feeling a little stuck, because basically what's happening for me as the listener is I'm going, okay, so it's not going to change that much of what I'm doing. It's more like just giving me further perspective of what's going on. It's a lot of getting low. It's a lot of patience. Right. It's a lot of leading through transitions, which I'm lucky because you've said this stuff to me before. So I think some of it I'm applying. Yeah. But then realizing that it's very important that I remain in charge, where like the world might make me feel like, well, if they need to be in charge sometimes, like give them that. I think you describing like it is actually the safest, protective, like it makes them feel good inside. It makes them trust you.
Yes, exactly. So that just validates for me. I'm speaking as like the mom listening who's going to go apply it. Yeah. It just reminds me like, okay, in these power struggles, it's important that I remain the one with more power, even though the whole thing really sucks. Yeah. And I really don't like as it's happening.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
And it's probably not going to go away, but it is cool to realize that what we're trying to build inside of them is, I want you to know how to make good choices for yourself. What it's going to look like right now, though, is you're making good choices for me, really, for me and Sean, or the nature of like the family as a whole. But there will be a time when this like translates into, I'm the one who shows you
where the good choice is. It's over here. Would you like to please come this way? I'm identifying for you what the good choice is, because I'm the one who knows. You don't know what the good choice is yet. You don't have enough practice or good enough info. So I'm the one who knows where the light is. Come over and be in it. Can I tell you what it does for me in the moment?
Sure.
In all these moments, you're having to decide how you're going to respond to this child.
Okay.
And so having these deep blocks in place, like my foundation is clear deep down of what I want this child to do, like where I want them to go. So I can make a clearer decision in the moment, because I know my goal is not just for you to like follow my instructions, do what I said. You know, like my goal is that you like get to really experience this moment, see the consequence of what happened to you, kind of feel that like, I know what I want you to be feeling, so I can provide the experience that's in line with my goal in that moment.
Sure.
Rather than that panic blank feeling of, I don't know what to do because I don't even know what I want for you. That to me is the reason to like take it all the way down to this certainly less practical space, but to get like something I can stand on. So that I know where to step now, because like I know what ground I'm standing on.
And it's kind of the why behind the things we're doing in parenting. It's also like I want her to brush her teeth. Right now she's going to brush her teeth with not a real understanding, not a real deep understanding that brushing your teeth is a good idea for the health of your tooth. But I'm getting her to brush her teeth. I was going to say forcing. Sometimes it feels like I'm forcing her to brush her teeth. And really, it seems in the moment like she's doing it to do the thing mom and dad said to do that brother and sister have already done. But in time, I want her to do it for herself. And I want her to do it because she understands that teeth are important. And hygiene is all part of it. So it seems like it's a very much like a building upon at this stage. And it's just giving us enough to go into these moments feeling confident in the way that we're navigating this. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. I think that feels good.
It's great.
I'm nervous. I want to keep talking because I'm nervous. I'm nervous to end the episode.
No. It's been great.
Because I don't
think anyone's going to cancel you for this.
Clear and useful and thoughtful.
What do you think someone would cancel you for? Just the fact that do you think force should be used sometimes? Because it's actually sounding like you're saying don't use force. Use force where in the very specific moments that are needed. But by getting down and leading them as their little companion in life, that doesn't sound forceful. That sounds really amazing.
Well, great.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I think it's good.
I think they're going to like it.
Okay.
Yeah. I have no further questions, I don't think. Great. But I hope these people will respond. Guys, I hope you'll respond. Give us like, if you've got any specific questions, any specific like, what's your kid like? And what do you do? And maybe you've figured out something that really works for them. I will say the more I multitask while trying to get my kids to do a thing, the worse it all is, especially in these very high, like they're really tired. They've been stimulated for a whole day. So maybe just practically speaking, if you're approaching a moment that, it's going to be a harder one for me. Bedtimes are kind of hard. Like, don't try to do anything else too. Phone away, everything, like just focusing, because then if it's going to require a lot more patience from us, you're going to need it all. And that is very helpful.
Good. Also, we're always gonna lean more toward these like extreme and reactive responses when we don't feel safe. So anytime you feel either that like hot blind feeling come up inside, check on yourself and be like, what is this? Where do I feel threatened? Where do I feel like something crazy is happening? And find your way back to safety inside. Because then you'll be a lot more available for like, what do I actually want to happen here? As opposed to that normal, regular, very human response of like, I've got to get the bad out.
Totally. No, that's so good. Yeah. Sometimes it's as simple as like, this one's not sleeping and the baby's going to wake up to nurse soon and I'm freaking out inside because this was my little window of time with no one. Like things like that. Even to just say it is like, okay, yep, that is so valid. No wonder any of us would be feeling that. Yeah. Now let's try and get this toddler to go to bed. And that doesn't make it easier. Like we're not rescuing you from that real challenge, but just to put words to it. I felt that last night as I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get up tomorrow. I have a huge work day. If everyone's not sleeping, that's going to really shape tomorrow. And this was like our time for Sean and I to hang out without kids. Right. And so just to be able to say that to each other, whew, all right, cool. Yeah. We're still in it. Let's go. It does help. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap up.
Okay, I think we love you guys.
Okay, you're doing great. We'll see you really soon. Can't wait to hear from you. Bye.
Bye. Very Good Enough is a production of Very Good Mothers Club. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe and leave a little comment. And above all, text it to a friend.